Concerns about the implementation of the Migration Pact are growing. Polish people are fed up with blindly obeying Brussels. They fear that in the name of EU decisions, they may lose what is most precious to them, their security. There is the issue of immigration, which is set to happen soon. Today, Donald Tusk, who not so long ago said that Poland would have to be punished because that is the law, because our government managed to prevent this agreement from coming into force. And this lasted for many years. Today, he suddenly announces that next year, we will not have immigration. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. These are old games. The migration threat is real. The Migration Pact, which was intended to bring order to immigration policy, is in fact causing increasing concern. All it takes is just going west and seeing what they have done, and they want to do exactly the same thing here. They want to leave those migrants they need at home, and we saw how they pushed out those they didn't need at home and even burdened Poles with the costs of this policy. This is why the entire Migration Pact must be thrown in the trash, and Tusk's policy must be fought against, because he will do everything Germany wants. And Poland does not want to repeat Germany's mistakes and take on the burden of other people's mistakes. After all, it was not the Poles who decided to open the European borders in 2015. It was not the Poles who made the decisions that are now resulting in the security crisis in Paris, Berlin, and Stockholm. I lived and stayed in Western countries. I see what is happening. I gave up on those countries and came here so that we wouldn't have to deal with this, so that we wouldn't have to see what is happening there. It's simply for us, for our children and our women. The Migration Pact is causing particular concern among women. In Western European countries that have previously accepted large groups of immigrants, there has been an increase in the number of cases of sexual assault and violence against women. Poland, until now, considered one of the safest places in Europe, fears a repeat of these scenarios. We don't want a repeat of what happened to that young woman in Toruń. I am a mother, and I would like to feel safe in our country, as I have done so far, when I go for a walk with my child and come back safely from that walk. We as women above all, because it is well known that attacks on women are mainly caused by migrants, and we want to feel safe. The border defense movement takes care of our safety, reminding us that a country that does not protect its own borders is unable to protect its own citizens. If we do not resist this, we will face rape, murder, looting, fear, anxiety, terror, and we will perish in the abyss of madness that has engulfed the West at this moment. That is why we must stop the Migration Pact. It is not a question of whether we can or cannot. We must stop the Migration Pact. This is not a rebellion against Europe, but against an attempt to take away the right of member states to decide for themselves. We must learn from the West what they are doing wrong and try to constantly improve and prevent it. Poland cannot become, as Prime Minister Donald Tusk once said, a second Paris. We cannot allow ourselves to become a second Paris, a second Marseille. That is why, in order to prevent the Migration Pact, Poles have taken matters into their own hands. As President John F. Kennedy once said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, and we must unite and never give up. For now, we can feel safe in Poland, but more and more often, many Poles fear that Brussels will start deciding our fate. Today we have shown that we can take matters into our own hands and unite. We have stood up to defend our borders and our daily peace.